Is there anyone looking to address the board?
President Bruno, there is not.
Seeing as there are none, we will convene to close at 5:01. And the meeting open at 6:23. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to start with our flag salute. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. We do have a report from closed. During closed session, the board voted 5-0 to approve a settlement agreement between BRSSD and one student in lieu of pending litigation. And that is all. Item number 7. Approval of the consent agenda. Anything like that?
There's been no changes to the consent agenda. Recommend approval.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead. You can.
Trustee Northrup. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing as there are none, the consent agenda is approved. And now for item number 8, speakers wishing to address the board. The board appreciates and supports stakeholders' input in our meetings. Engagement by members of the public in civic matters is a cornerstone of our democracy. The board has established guidelines for its meetings so that we are able to conduct the meeting effectively and efficiently. Within those guidelines, members of the public have the opportunity to address the board. To submit a question or comment, speakers are asked to complete the speaker card by the start of open session at 6:15. If you've not already done so, see Ms. Ellinger for a speaker card at this time. During the meeting, speakers will be called upon to make their comment. If you're addressing the board on an agenda item, we will call on you to provide your comment before the board discusses that item on the agenda. If you're addressing the board on a non-agenda item, we will take those comments at this time. Please be aware that the provision of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting on or discussing non-agenda item matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. There'll be a timer if it gets to past 3 minutes. I will do my best to shush you respectfully and lovingly. Ms. Ellinger, are there speakers wishing to address the board?
Yes, we have two. First, we have Barbara Asher DeGrande and then Pamela Miller.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. First, hello. We really appreciate the transparency around the discussion of adding lunch to the Wednesday schedule. It means a lot to BRSFA executive board to have an open communication and how this affects all of our teachers. I also wanted to acknowledge that the leadership teams will be meeting to explore solutions as well. That kind of collaboration is key in our district. It helps us build trust and work as true partnership in making best decisions for our schools. Although we just came back from spring break, it feels like so long ago. Teachers and students have picked up where they left off and are nearing the home stretch of the school year. Sandpiper, the 3rd grade students are doing their wax museum tomorrow. Nesbitt had their science night. Staff and students are preparing for state testing, and open house will be here before you know it. This time of year is a busy time, and there's a feeling of overload and many things needing to be completed before the end of the school year. It's a time filled with exciting projects happening and being completed, and recognizing all the learning that has happened. Not only all the learning that we've done, and we just feel like it's not enough time to complete it all. It's also an exciting time where some students are moving on and new beginnings are happening when students are graduating. As we think about the future next year, yes, it will be here before we know it. We are thinking about the rollout of next year and collaboration.
Am I separate or under the same timer? because mine's really long.
We're separate.
No, I'm just kidding. It's not really. But it is not a glow, unfortunately. It's a hopefully a consideration for next year. We know that scheduling specials like PE, science, and music is incredibly complex, both for the district and for teachers. Every year, teachers receive their schedules for specials like science, library, music, PE, just a few days before school starts, sometimes even the day before school starts. And that timing is really tough because it's right when the teachers are setting up classrooms, meeting with special ed teams to make sure our student services are in place. In the last few years, we've seen that schedule often need to be revised when the school year is underway or it's really challenging for the teachers at school sites. This year, for example, both Nesbitt and the Shores had to revise their science schedules after school started. Sometimes the schedules don't feel equitable across the staff that the schools that share science specialists or music teachers or PE teachers. We wanted to bring this to your attention, but as something we hope we can all work together on moving forward. If we could be a little bit more proactive in planning and communication around that scheduling, it could really help reduce stress, avoid disruptions, and better support both teachers and students. Thanks again for listening and for continuing to work with us on these important issues.
Thank you.
No, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay. Thank you. Is that it for our speakers?
There are no more speakers.
All right. Item number 9, our Board of Trustee report. Anyone would like to?
I'll go first. Thank you, President. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much. So I had a couple opportunities this past month. So I actually had the opportunity to attend the School Force Gala with Trustee Northrup, and thank you again for inviting me. We had a great time. I thought the event was very successful and met a lot of people. A lot of people that are currently at my home school. So I'm excited. I was excited to meet a lot of other families. And then yesterday I had the opportunity to stop by the Nesbitt Science Night. And I took both my kids. So my oldest is 5 and in TK, and my youngest is 1.5. And they both loved it. So it was super fun. They had a bunch of stuff, for the kids to do and make, and lots of food trucks and things to eat and enjoy. So it was a really great time. That's it.
I'll just tag on to Trustee Ding's comment about the community science night for Nesbitt. I'm just really impressed that it was largely coordinated by one teacher and that she's been doing it for like 8 years now here and then for multiple years prior. And the array and thoughtfulness that has gone into each of these science stations. She had like a pamphlet that said, this is the science and this is how the science works and this is why it's important. And making it very kid friendly was just so impressive and made me feel like this is what quality education is, right? Being able to hire these really wonderful teachers and being able to valuing them is so important for our district. I also had the pleasure of attending the recent multicultural festival over at Sandpiper. And it was just really heartwarming to be able to see the students engaged and immersed in the cultures from, I think it was 15 different countries. And it was just really impressive, the diversity that we have at Sandpiper, and I'm sure across the district as a whole. And just watching those parents really engage with the children, getting excited about sharing their cultures. And I just want to give a big thank you to our PTA and to our teachers for all the energy and the support that they bring to our schools. And these are the kinds of events that wouldn't be possible without the dedication of, without your dedication to our students and families. So thank you.
So the teacher, I definitely want to commend Casta Wood, who is the science teacher and the IB coordinator at Nesbitt, for really her outstanding job every year, and obviously supported by the school leadership and others to make it. When I went briefly yesterday, when it was on Wednesday, it was nice to see all the student involvement. handing out the pamphlets, kind of helping orchestrate, chaperoning the booths. It was impressive. So well done again. I just wanted to add that I've been fortunate to have a few informal discussions. One of them was a coffee chat with BRSFA, Barbara DeGrande and Lisa Fahey, and it was very nice. And it was just another great opportunity to kind of sit down and talk with the community, talk with other stakeholders, and in service of our students and service of our staff. And so I appreciate your perspective, and I thank you for attending. Also with President Bruno, President DeGuara, and then just today we also met with a council member from Redwood City, Jeff G, as a kind of another kind of informal, I guess, discussion, just to kind of go back and forth and kind of apprise each other on some areas of mutual interest, just to kind of, which is a great touch base. We don't do it enough, and hopefully that will change, because I think it's important to know what's going on with what the city council members are doing with the city of Belmont and the city of Redwood Shores. They're our community partners in all this. So again, just another touch point. And on that point, I know that's upcoming is going to be some brown bag lunches in the next several weeks. And so I just encourage everybody that can to please attend, to please come and share your thoughts and ideas, and just the more I get to meet more people, I think the in-person is always so valuable. And so I always appreciate any of these opportunities. So thank you, Superintendent DeGuara, for helping set all this up, and that's all I have.
So just to echo Trustee Dang, was able to attend the School Force Gala, which was a great time as always, and a great fundraiser for our Ed Foundation School Force. So thanks to all the volunteers who made that possible, and thanks to all the parents and businesses for supporting School Force. And so that was great. And then kind of what I've been focusing on right now for school board related is advocacy at the higher levels. So I was able to attend a lunch sponsored by the San Mateo County School Boards Association, at which there was Assemblymember Cappan, Assemblymember Berman, who is Assemblymember for a district south of us, and also Congressmember Sam Liccardo, who is the Congressmember for south of our area specifically. And so at that, they were talking about what they are doing to try to make sure that funding for public education is maintained. And the school board members were encouraging them to do that. And then also in about 10 days, I'll be in Washington, D.C., also sponsored by the California School Boards Association. There's going to be about 100 school board members from all over California going to Washington, D.C., meeting with the members of Congress, and really advocating for them to protect our federal funding of schools, of public education.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. I echo a lot of everything that's been shared. I'm kind of sitting in appreciation of some of the partnerships, coffee chats at BRSFA, meeting with council members. It's been awesome. I have sat in this chair, and I want to specifically appreciate your involvement in the questions you asked. I swear I was going to say this anyway, just so you know that.
Thanks.
But I literally want to highlight Trustee Klaus's involvement in all these meetings, and the kind of awareness and interest that he brings, that I learned from, and also brings out some really interesting information from the people we're speaking to. So want to appreciate that. I always try to take some time to highlight events that might be important to members of our community. So I think today literally is the last day of Lent. So good job. That was a thing for you. Passover is happening right now. Easter's coming up. Whether that's something religious or fun for you, if you enjoy it. I'm excited to celebrate, congratulate Nesbitt on their IB certification. So I'm going to call that out. We'll be toasting to that tomorrow. Would not, perfect. I don't want to take your steam away, so I'll let you say it when you get the central is gonna getting some awards. Distinguished school, which was, again, I'm extremely proud to be just somewhat of a part of that. And yeah, I've been hanging out with my kids, going to science nights and things like that, and they've been having a blast, so my kids appreciate it. And that's my report.
A couple things, on tonight's consent agenda, we approved two resolutions that I want to call out and read by name. They are in appreciation of our amazing staff district-wide. The first one was resolution for the Day of the Teacher, and I do want to read that. Whereas Education Code Section 37222 sets aside the second Wednesday in May as Day of the Teacher and encourages suitable commemorative exercises directing attention to teachers in the teaching profession. Whereas the Board of Education has the utmost respect and admiration for the district's professional teachers, individuals who have dedicated their lives and their talents to the education of our children, California's most precious and important resource. Whereas the Board of Education recognizes the truly vital role of teachers in realizing its vision for California public education. Whereas in contemplating the Day of the Teacher, the Board of Education takes note of the call for all schools to commit themselves to the highest standards of teaching. And whereas the board recognizes that the quality of students' educational experiences depend significantly and vitally upon the quality of their teachers. Therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District hereby proclaims Wednesday, May 14th, 2025, California Day of the Teacher, extending its sincere appreciation to the professional teachers in the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District, celebrating and emphasizing the contributions of teachers who, in the mortal words of Henry Brooke Adams, do indeed affect eternity. Expressing my sincere gratitude to all of our teachers district-wide. Thank you. The second resolution is Classified School Employees Week, whereas the week of May 18th to 24th 18 to 24, 2025 has been designated as California School Employee Week in California by the California School Employees Association and the California State Legislature. Whereas classified employees provide valuable services to the schools and students of the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District, and whereas the classified school employees contribute to the establishment and promotion of a positive instructional environment, and whereas classified school employees serve a vital role in providing for the welfare and safety of students of the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District, and whereas classified school employees employed by the district strive for excellence in all areas relative to the educational community. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District hereby proclaims May 18th through the 24th, 2025 Classified School Employees Week, and hereby recognizes and wishes to honor the contribution of classified school employees to quality education in the district. I just want to extend equal thanks to all of our classified employees. Often our classified employees are doing the behind the scenes work and don't receive that recognition. So special recognition to them. And together, all of our employees are doing amazing things for our kids. And I am extremely grateful. In celebration of School Employees Week and Day of the Teacher, we'll continue the district newer tradition of a barbecue on May 7th. Board of Trustees, you guys are all invited to come help us cook hot dogs and hamburgers for our amazing staff. I hope you'll join. Staff can, you guys will be getting those formal invitations. So a couple other things just worth mention. Assistant Superintendent who just started full day release professional development for each grade level. She's pulling grade levels together to talk about standards and common standards and scope and sequence across grades. We've had grade 3 and ELA thus far, and it's really been nice to pop in and see great things happening and the excitement of all of our staff working through that. The gala with School Force is always amazing. Again, just my thanks to School Force for roughly raising approximately $3 million each and every year to support our kiddos. And then finally, I am gonna ruin the surprise. I'm sorry. It's pretty amazing. We found out that Central is being recognized for a persistently high-performing school by being recognized with the California Distinguished School Award. It's just fitting by coincidence that you guys are here today.
You knew it.
We saw it. We read it in the so my congratulations to the Central staff. That's it.
Right. On that note, item number 11 on the agenda, school highlight. Central, come on down.
Great segue.
Great hit.
Right. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm really excited to have our 5-day-a-week school counselor, Danielle King, here with us here tonight. I also want to give a shout out to the teachers who came up to support tonight, really heard all the background. Yeah, and as was just discussed, we were honored to receive the California Distinguished School Award this year. And, you know, we all put a lot into making things happen every single day at Central. And I will say that it is nice to get that recognition because we are an incredibly industrious staff, nobody more so than the people in the back there. And so a lot of the thanks goes to them, but it's really nice to receive that award. So thank you for all your hard work in making that happen. All right, so a lot of this year has been taking this profile of a learner and contextualizing it and action and putting it into action for where we are and what we are doing at Central. And so I'm going to be talking about a few different of the puzzle pieces tonight, but really, as I look at this profile of a learner, to me, it's really the well-rounded learners, the belonging and inclusion and the community engagement. It's all of those pieces combined that create a sustainable long-term future. And so I'll be kind of like touching on that and then bringing that to the end at the end. All right, so one of the big things that we've been working on this year is in improving our writing instructional practice. And so we have been working, we have partnered with Fox this year to work collaboratively across sites. And it has just been a wonderful, wonderful experience. I want to give a huge shout out to Talia Carter and the staff at Fox for helping lead some of this work, as well as just being great partners through all of it. It's been just like wonderful professional development that's had a variety of benefits where we've been able to create cross-site collaboration. We're having excellent teaching and instruction conversations about where people are at, how we can improve our practices. We're becoming more calibrated and more aligned, and there's just been a lot of fantastic benefits that have come from that but I will be honest, both Talia and I did not foresee before we began the journey on this work. So I'm going to be going through a few different pictures and kind of talking about the cadences that we've done overall. So we came together in the summer, or not in the summer, right at the beginning of the school year. Used to be the summer, right at the beginning of the school year. Right at the beginning of the school year to meet with our professional development coaches and get a sense of where we wanted to kind of focus on in our big growth areas for the year. Fox then held a session for us in the fall. Talia and I then co-led a writer's workshop component during our January 6th Professional Development Day. And then Central just recently hosted the Fox Teachers to Us this spring. So there was a really nice cadence of the work that we were doing. One of the things that really helped overall was, as I mentioned, the professional collaboration. But one of the setups that we did was we operated lab site classrooms. And so what that meant was some of our professional developers were coming in. They were meeting with the specific grade level teams that they would be working with. On one of the days, they would borrow like a model class that they would go then demo and model the lesson. And then on the second day, a lot of our teachers got a chance to go in and do it on their own. And I just think there's such incredible value in teachers being able to see somebody who does this for their entire profession to go and model it as it should be done and be like, oh, okay, that's an area that I can improve. I'm doing that really well and take it from there. So we have just had a fantastic experience and a lot of great benefits through this writing professional development overall this year. And all of this is working on making sure that we are developing well-rounded learners overall. There you go.
Yeah, and not just academics, but teachers here care so much about social emotional learning. So I'm the school counselor at Central. So I go in every other week to teach about these topics about friendships, feelings, our cognitive triangles, and we're worried, helpful and helpful thoughts. But all of those, I wanted to bring it up during collaboration, the theme of it, because the teachers here, I'm able to, now that I'm there every Wednesday and I go into their grade level meetings and I get to talk to them more. It's not just that I go in and then I'd see them in 2 weeks. I'm able to touch points about what I teach while they're learning their general education, like science or writing projects, because those all have areas of social emotional learning. So one of the cool thing I was able to do with a 4th grade teacher this year is she was working on STEM projects where kids have to group and work together to create these chains. And we talk about teamwork collaboration at the beginning of the year, but then they're just doing these fun activities together. But I now go into their STEM project times to review this point, and I get to collaborate with teachers there to say all right, so while they're actually trying to work together in these academic group projects, they can then revisit and have their own mini reminders to check am I doing one of the things we talked about, teamwork, slide, sharing ideas. Am I listening to others? Am I including everyone? Maybe taking some time to be quiet and let others speak. Am I doing my part? And am I encouraging? So they get to check as they're learning too. So I just love that I'm able to collaborate with teachers in those ways, because it's, SEL is in every part of their learning. It's not just academic in a separate time. And it ties to this too, right? It's applying what they're learning. They're learning about STL, they're learning about science, they're learning about books, discussions, and they learn about friendship too. So I just get to help students apply it in the real lifetime, not just during the time with Miss Kim, right? So.
Yeah, and one of the great things about the work that Ms. Kim is doing in terms of pushing into a lot of the different classes and working in these SEL components with what they're doing is it's really easy to practice these things when we're calm and practicing them in the moment. What I love about what Ms. Kim is doing is she's doing it when they're working on the project in class, and it's not so easy to always practice that. So it's that real in the moment support and working on these things that she's doing, which I think is just awesome. So one component of developing well-rounded learners at Central is the idea that we are a community of learning at all levels. And so what we have on the board, this is a part of our readathon work. And so we have a school-wide read aloud that we do K through 5. So it is thematic. And so this is an example of how during the readathon, we build this culture of literacy and this culture of learning and also make a little money for the site, right? And so this is an example where our grades 3 through 5 read the book, The Wild Robot. And these are some associated art activities with it. There's a couple pictures up there that demonstrate a multi-grade gallery walk prompted discussion where they're talking about different components based on questions that they liked about the book. And again, we want a place where we feel that all students can achieve. And I really feel that that happens through a community of learning at all levels. Another part of that is the idea as a community of learning that we all belong. And so one of the things that we like to do during the readathon, or as we are developing this community of learning, is everyone drops everything and reads. So during a few different times during the readathon, what we do is we have these announcements, and literally the whole school goes out to the hallways or where they are, and they all read together. It's great when teachers like Miss Johnson over there wear their Dr. Seuss hat and really play it up. So again, it is that community of learning. It is that culture of learning. It is everyone coming out and demonstrating really the qualities of being a lifelong learner. And through a program like Readathon at Central and these activities, it does create that belonging and inclusion. There is palpable energy around campus during this because kids are excited to read, kids are excited to talk about reading, kids are excited to do these things. And it's really just this beautiful synergy that comes through some of these programs that we touch at all levels of the school.
Right, and tying into kind of the theme of belonging and inclusion, like I'm the school counselor, I care about students' feelings and friendships, and during lunch, sometimes it's not always like the activities that all students enjoy. Some students are walking around alone because they don't know what to do, and I wanted to create a space where like all types of students feel included, feel a part of. So we have every week kind of a lunch bunch where they can come to have a different set of recess that's not just running around blacktop and playing basketball or Foursquare. Like they can come and play board games, they can have some drawing activities, we can have discussions. So I've been going through and trying to have different avenues where different types of students, because all students should feel belong and included at school, that all types of students can be feeling a sense of belonging at school. And recess is always a very tough area for students. And it's not even that they are trying to like exclude other students. Sometimes it's just that they are lost in what to do or how to play. And that's why this year we were so fortunate to have like junior coaches program to come and assist us during recess, because learning happens not just in classroom, but outside at recess. And we were able to coach some of our 4th and 5th graders to help their peers, but also the younger kids to how to engage during recess. And they're running this game called Four Corners on a Foursquare court. And after they are taught, like these kindergartners now are excited to run their own games. Like they can even go and invite, and instead of walking around and just saying hi to me and they just want to stay around me, now they're playing because they were taught this game. And it's simple as that, where we can help students to feel a part of the community by using our students. Like we're giving students sense of ownership too, to be a part of this school. So I think it's also not just for the younger students, but the older 4th and 5th graders feel like they have more ownership at this school, right? And they can be students who are maybe feeling in classroom not as part of this community. They might feel like, oh, I don't like reading, or I'm not as good of a reader. But here it's like all even level, where they can just be this person who helps and contributes to our schools.
Yeah, I mean, and again, if it wasn't clear, so the junior coaches program came out of the School Force Funding Needs. So thank you to School Force for all that they do. But yeah, it's been a great program, which has really helped and supported our recess programs overall. And one of the things that I really liked about it is it's provided, leadership opportunities for students who may not necessarily be superstar students. So again, the idea that everybody belongs at Central and everybody has an opportunity to demonstrate their strengths and contribute as they are able to. One of the other key things, and this was honestly the biggest selling point for me when I took the job at Central, was the community. And I came on 4 years ago, which was the first year everybody was back in person. And I truly felt that my biggest charge was helping to rebuild the amazing community at Central. And things are really rocking and rolling at this point, 3-4 years later. So these are just a couple examples of the community events that we do. We run a fall fun day. We have a holiday craft fair. There's an ice cream social. In the last year, there was disco bingo. There's a lot of different things that happen at Central that are done by community volunteers to bring the community together. And so the very special place that Central would not be possible without the amazing support of our community and the incredible synergy that takes place between the staff at Central as well as our community. These are just a few more photos of the Fall Fun Day and the Holiday Craft Fair. Another thing that we do is family reading nights. And so we had a couple this year. And one of the things I really like about the family reading nights is going back to some of my themes of the night, the community of learning and seeing it from all levels. So we've got some families that are up there, laying on the rug, reading with their kiddos, demonstrating that idea of being a lifelong learner, the shared celebration of literacy, and just the opportunity to come and be with your family on on a weeknight, and kids come in their jammies, they have some stories read, or families can sit around and read, and it's just a really nice low-key lift overall that brings the community together and provides all these different opportunities to showcase the learning, the connectivity, all of these different things that we love and really prize at Central. As I said at the beginning, to me, it's those first three puzzle pieces that really create a sustainable long-term future. It's about how are we developing well-rounded learners, developing a strong community engagement, and how are we using all of it, and how are we making sure that we are offering a place that everybody belongs. That, to me, is what creates a sustainable long-term future. Thank you.
Thanks, Lord. Let's open it up to questions.
I did have one question.
Easy questions.
I mean, this is a simple one, and it's really for Miss Kim, I think, but just I was actually at a lunch with Superintendent Dwara a couple months ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, and I did notice that for the lunch bunch they have like a pass that they get. Like, how does it work with the pass? So like, it's not just anybody can just go into the lunch bunch whenever they want. They have to get, like, how does that work?
We've been running different ways, and the pass is just to have a manageable number of students for me. So we used to have it in a classroom where it was like, all right, we could have 20 kids. So then each classroom had 4 tickets in their class, and then teachers kind of had their system of, all right, you went last week, is there anyone else? So they make sure that the 4 tickets in each classroom are being taken.
I see.
Taking turn. We've switched to where it's board game out on the table near their play area, and I just have the tickets. They just have to come and get it from me.
Okay.
And I just make sure, okay, I gave out all my tickets. All right, that's it for today.
I see.
Because I can't manage 50 kids.
Right.
And typically she's not sort of tooting her own horn enough. And this really came out of, right, like, we want to have a place where everybody belongs. And Ms. Kim, she came and we spoke, and she was like, I'm just getting the same kids every time. What can we do to sort of like expand this, like broaden our horizons and make sure that we really are a place where everybody belongs? And that is kudos to Ms. Kim for like recognizing that and coming to me and like having a conversation to figure out how we can like iterate on that and improve on it. So
Right.
don't sell yourself short. It's really that big theme of how do we get everyone.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and goes back to you saying like everyone belongs at Central, and having things like that, new ideas like that. I think it's great.
I had a question about the junior coaches program, because that seems like it would be so helpful and useful, especially for like those more introverted students that don't want to go run around like crazy people on the blacktop. How do you select those junior coaches for training? Like, how did that come about? And what was the hardest part about implementing a program of that nature?
Great question. Do you want to start?
Selecting you can share, but like we were training, some difficulties were that when we were being trained, we had some weather issues where like half of the week was raining and half of the week wasn't, and we couldn't practice like this set of things where like, all right, you come and have your duty during morning recess, and then we switch off. So just the personnel issues almost, because we're so booked too, and then we were having that help that week, and then it was hard to get it rolling, right? We can't control the weather, so I would say that was a challenge.
Yeah, I would say the weather was the biggest challenge. Selection process wise, we really, I went around, gave a pitch to the different classrooms. We got interest from different students, and then in conversations with teachers and making sure that we're, distributing opportunities and giving all of our students an opportunity. It really came through that way. And also, we really wanted to focus on kiddos that may not have other opportunities to shine, and giving them an opportunity from this capacity overall. And yeah, so the weather's been a challenge. I would also say just sort of, we've kind of thought about this year as a test pancake of sorts, where we're really piloting it and looking at how we can improve and get a full-blown rollout next year. But it's been really good, and just sort of like the cadences and how we're like tightening up certain recess practices. But I think it's been a great experience and a great program, and we're learning a lot, and I'm excited to have a full year with it to implement next year.
So did you have, so you mentioned that School Force supported it. So did
Yep.
they pay for, is this like a?
This is through
Yeah.
Playworks. So the fund to need from last year's gala was the recess reboot program through Playworks. And so we had a coach that came and worked with us for a week, but this is a component that I think has really, shifted some of the things we've been able to do at recess overall, and it's been a huge help.
And it continues throughout the year, like the
Yep.
senior coaches?
Yeah, so this started in, let's see, when it was that February? No, it was late January, early February that we had our coach who came in. And so we've been running it since then. And then next year we'll have the full year because we will have had the sort of institutional knowledge to get it off the ground next year. Yep.
I love the collaboration with Principal Carter. So can you explain a little bit more with the developing writers, how did that kind of organic conversation kind of occur? Were you noticing certain things that there was a disconnect with the central students, and what was Fox's needs? Like how did it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say in my time at Central, we hadn't had like a cohesive sort of like writing refresh that we were able to do. So some of it was kind of like, it's always good to go back to the source material, so to speak. And so some of it was an opportunity for the teachers to refresh on some of that, revisiting the source material, as well as finding that, through various meetings and data points that like many of our students are really not struggling. Many of our students are doing really, really well with writing, but there are certain subpopulations that were not growing in the same way. And so some of that was the opportunity to look at come back to that work to make sure that we are helping all students achieve, as well as just, brushing up, revisiting our skills on some of these things.
And are you happy with the results? Has it reached the intended audiences and
I've been very happy with the results, both the expected as well as some of those sort of like softer ones, for lack of a better term, at the beginning. I would say in terms of, cross-site conversations, some of the conversations that are happening at the sites, like that's been great. And I think we're continuing to see some of the dividends that are being paid from this work overall. So, I think sometimes the results are not always as instantaneous or sort of visible as we would like to see, but I definitely feel that they are there and they are coming.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Just building on Trustee Casa's question. Could you tell us a little bit more about that collaboration with the teachers from Fox as well? Did like kindergarten teachers collaborate with each other? And third grade teachers collaborate with each other? And yeah,
it's okay. Yes, we collaborated K through 5, and so what that looked like, depending on the day, was that grade level teacher coming together with the professional developer, really, and there was really good work with those professional developers in terms of like them working and listening to like where we wanted to grow and their ability to hone in and zero in on those growth areas, and then working with our staff overall. So it was really an opportunity to work with both, and then as they got those specific growth areas, leading an initial meeting, going into the lab site classroom, modeling what they were talking about, coming back to it, talking about what the teachers saw in there. And then, day 2 would often be the teachers implementing it to some capacity on their own with the support of that professional development coach in the room. And I think, there's always, it's more comfortable when there's more people who are going through it. And I just found people's willingness to talk about growth areas was really great, because there was that camaraderie and collaboration with another site in the district.
great, thank you. And that's all I have for questions. Thank you very much. Congratulations on being distinguished school, and very nicely done. And we'll pass it back to President Bruno.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions. In what sounded like a kind of focus on writing, was there any sort of surprises, gaps, strength? Like, did you find that maybe people were teaching it differently across grades, or maybe they were good or bad necessarily. I'm just curious,
Yeah.
sort of kind of testimonial.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, and it's not, yeah, I think sort of, as I mentioned before, returning for the like refresher and sort of like source material, really like, you know, not, okay, like I'm doing really well in this area and that's an area, oh, right, I need to sort of like make the new anchor chart every single year, right? Like just some of these small things that as your, you know, human memory, as you're reviewing it year in and year and sort of like, well, this is how I've been doing it, but this is what like the book recommends, sort of, you know, revisiting what that conversation looks like and what are we doing and why are we doing it? Because, you know, things change over time and the ability to revisit that, I think, was really good. What was the other part of the question?
I mean, that was, you kind of answered it. Similar question, but any sort of, and I'm not trying to trick you. I'm more of just curiously for like testimonial, like qualitative, quantitative data. Like, do the kids know what they're doing? And they're like, this writing thing is fun, or her teachers like, my third graders are reading differently because they're writing. Like, is there anything that you're seeing happen because of what you're focusing on?
I would say it's more qualitative at this point, but I would say that, you know, it's been more for the teachers, but I would also say the kids are queuing into it in terms of like, wow, there's a lot of adults in the room. What is this for? Right. And then, and so that is also like driving some conversations in terms of, you know, how that is trickling down to the kids overall. So yeah, it's definitely more for the benefit of the teachers. And that is the step that is coming or is like in process overall.
Gotcha. Okay. And then for you, you mentioned early on, you said you're in every classroom every other week. What does that mean? What does that look like?
I go in 1 week and then the next week I don't go in.
Well done, well done.
Is that what's recommended via Wayfinder, or is it just something you're choosing to do? Is it a specific lesson you're doing?
It's been a mix of things as I've worked with the school over the years. The scheduling wise, we realized because teachers have library every other week, they have that same time that's empty the week after. And then scheduling wise, it was perfect. And I wanted to have students like have more like idea of that SEL is just part of their regular routine.
Right.
Not like randomly I come in this day and then another time I come in this time of the week. So in that sense, we thought that worked the best.
Mhm.
That's why it became every other week. In terms of like content or what we're teaching, we have some like, you know, conversations about what are some needs happening, like are they fighting a lot? And I'm out at recess too, so I'm like hearing students talk about certain conflicts and I'm helping the same conflict over and over too. So then sometimes I touch on those because Wayfinder and those like our teachers are amazing. They like do them already on their own in their class routine. So I'm trying to like add some things more like specific to maybe like how is your like what are some 7 conflict resolution strategies or what are like I'm trying to do like more school-wide things that we can all have the same language on. So like iMessage, let's all have the same set of language or what else? Like more kind of like thought processes too or so yeah, it's been just seeing the need or like pockets of like areas that I think could use a whole school approach.
Thank you.
Yeah. And in the weeks she's not in there, that SEL is being taught by the classroom managers.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I just want to say thank you, Principal Donovan, for your leadership, for really visually sharing how things come to life at Central. And I express my appreciation to staff for everything that you do. You guys truly are a distinguished group and a distinguished community and are doing fantastic things. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Much for effect. All right. Item number 12, declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Director Eastman.
Good evening. Every year, the district is required to estimate the number of teachers who will need emergency permits the following year. That estimate is based on the district's experience in hiring in previous years. And kind of anticipating needs such as the growth of TK classrooms or additions of special ed classrooms and such. After the estimates, the district is required to file this declaration of need with the CTC. Once we have this declaration on file, then if and when we cannot hire teachers that are fully credentialed, we can hire them with different types of emergency permits. So on the attached, you will see the declaration of need that will be filed with CTC and the estimate number of different types of credential area teachers that we anticipate emergency credentials for. With that, I recommend that the Board of Trustees adopt a declaration of need for fully qualified educators as presented in the attached document.
For question first. Absolutely. I'll open it for discussion first. If there's any questions. Okay, then may I have a motion for the board to adopt the declaration of need for fully qualified educators as presented?
So moved.
They get a second.
A second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 There are no nays. Then ayes.
Thank you.
That question is approved. On to item 13, a bond update from CPO Matsumoto.
Good evening, trustees. Given that the last bond update came as I had been here for 2 whole business days, I thought it'd be appropriate to do another one, especially as we've had a lot of activity on the bond front. So before we get started, if I have to just summarize this very quickly, right? We have 2 bond measures, right? We have measure I, which is at its very tail end. And on that remaining, we basically have the E-rate projects, which is technology infrastructure. And we also have part of the DO modernization. Measure P, we have all of the projects that were outlined in the tranche 1 of projects that went to the board, I believe, in February. However, there are a whole bunch of things that have to happen before then, right? Such as issuing the money, which I'll talk about in a second. Thank you.
Yes.
Right. The really good news is that we are now a AAA rated district when it comes to municipal bond issuances. That is extremely huge for us because 1, it saves our taxpayers a lot of money over the course of the bond. And 2, it means that, we join the ranks of other AAA districts within San Mateo County, including, it's a very small number of districts, including Portola Valley, Woodside, and outside of San Mateo County, Palo Alto as well. So it's very rarefied air. Superintendent DeGuara, business services specialist Reese, and I went up to San Francisco to present to Moody's. And based off of everything we presented, they decided to upgrade us from a AA1 or a AA plus all the way up to AAA. So again, I just want to emphasize that this is a massive thing for us as a district and for our community, and something that we should all be proud of. It's through all the hard work of all of our educators, all of our staff, making sure that this is a place that reflects very positively on the community, and 2, that we are fiscally in a good place, not only now, but heading into the future. So just wanted to start off with a really good news.
Great news.
All right. So the overview, as I said earlier, measure I, we have roughly $10 million. We have roughly $4.5 million left of the $10 million that we issued last. Most of that money is going towards the district office modernization, and the other parts of it is going towards our technology infrastructure, which is also through E-rate. For Measure P, we passed that in November of 2024. The initial project scopes are essentially roofs, HVAC across all sites, siding at Sandpiper and Fox, the parking lot at Central, the parking lot at Cipriani, and fields at both Ralston and Nesbitt. And also, we are currently trying to do all of the work up front to source our program and construction manager, and as well as our architect for all of Measure P projects. So I'll talk about this also in the very next board item that we have, but we have finished the RFP process for the program and construction manager. To give a quick overview of that, we had roughly 6 applicants. Of that, 4 of them went to an interview round after grading their initial RFPs. We were very, very lucky to have Trustee Northrup with us to also interview all of the different vendors that came to propose for us. And given all of that and taking everything into consideration, our recommendation for the next board item is to move forward with Teleq Construction Manager. So getting a little bit further into Measure I, again, we issued roughly $10 million or $9.8 million to be exact. Of that, $5.5 million has been spent already. And again, we are trying to get to that $9.8 million. The one question that has come up before that I just thought I addressed now is we have 3 years to spend 85% of what we issue. So what does that mean? It means that essentially we need to get up to roughly 8.5 million by November of later this year. That is on track, given that we are moving forward with the DO modernization project, and we have roughly $1.5 million of expenditures coming for the E-rate project as well. So I'm very confident that we will get there. There's nothing to worry about there. We are continuing work as scheduled as far as it goes for Measure I. All right, on Measure P, this is basically everything I just talked about before. The one thing that I wanted to just quickly caveat here is the middle box. It says completed on 4/8. So that actually is not true. So the plan was for us last week, Tuesday, to go out to market in order to sell our $57.5 million of Series A issuance for Measure P. However, given the tariffs that were proposed on the Friday previous to that, the market was in a little bit of a frenzy, which in turn reflected on how our rates were looking in that given week. Just for a quick estimate, so what was passed by the board when Kegent came a little bit earlier to present on what basically we should expect for our issuances, they had proposed that we would see roughly a 4.5% interest rate on our $57.5 million. As of last week, Thursday, I believe we stood somewhere closer to 5.5%. So that's a full percentage increase worse. What are the next steps there? Well, one, we're monitoring the market every day. We are getting updates from both Kegent as well as some of our other bond underwriters as to how the market's looking day to day. Sometimes it goes up by 0.14%. Sometimes it goes down by 0.13%. Long story short, we still feel confident that we will be able to actually sell the bonds this year. It just may not be this week. It may not be next week. It shouldn't have any issues on us for cash flow moving forward. However, it's just we're monitoring the market right now. The one thing I will say is that the whole purpose of us going out for all of the materials, making sure we went into San Francisco to get our rating, and trying to get our issuance done last week, right, as we had previously scheduled, was to give us as much flexibility as possible, right? Very fortunately, most of our schools, or all of our schools, are actually in good shape. There are no super pressing needs of facilities upgrades that need to happen at this moment. Right now, if it doesn't happen, the buildings are going to start leaking or anything like that. We are in extremely fortunate shape for that. So in the very, very, very worst case scenario, should anything happen and maybe we have to postpone into next school year, we will be fine. Nothing really will change too much with our plans for that. We'll just push things back a little bit. But again, we have enough money in Measure I to basically buoy what we are doing for the district office modernization. And we have the E-rate money as well in there too, to basically hold those projects over until we get Measure P, Series A of Measure P issued. So.
Can we ask questions now or should we wait?
Your call.
I'm happy to take questions now.
Does the upgrade in our rating give us a better chance at getting a lower interest rate? Does that affect any of that or no?
So the 4.5% that was proposed to the board earlier had already reflected us being at a AAA rating, right? So it just means that the proposed rate was 4.5 instead of, maybe initially being 5.5. The one thing I will say that they've indicated to me is that being AAA rated means that there's a highly likelihood that people will buy our bonds.
Right.
So people in the market like that we were a very stable school district. And so they will be more willing against, maybe a AA1 or AA2 school district to buy those bonds.
Thank you. And then as far as like waiting, right, for interest rates, do you have a threshold? Like, I understand it was 4.5 and now it's 5.5, but then waiting, like, what if it never goes back down? Like, at what point is there a point where you would just go ahead?
Yeah, I think our general strategy right now is we want to get within the ballpark, right? So obviously if the rates are somewhere in the fives, that's probably no-go territory. And remember, there are two parts of this as well. So one, there is the Series A issuance for 57.5 million, but there is also the refinancing of Measure I bonds as well. So as of today, I believe that, or as of last week, the Measure I refinancing would have saved our taxpayers roughly $600,000, whereas initially we were quoted $800,000. So I think our threshold is we want to get close to that $800,000 and we want to get close to the 4.5%. Just to make sure that we're not doing wrong by, our community, our taxpayers.
Yeah, I guess my issue, I don't have any issues. It's just that it may never go back down, right? And how long do we wait as it kind of goes up where it's like, oh shoot, I guess maybe we should have.
As of right now, the market is so volatile. There really is very well next week, Monday, the rates could shoot down by a lot, for example, and they could go up. So if we see a period of a couple of weeks where things start to stabilize out, I think then we will maybe consider, okay, is this the new normal? Is this where we'll have to operate into the future? But as long as the market is so volatile like this, which hopefully it should start stabilizing out, unless, new federal actions are released, it makes sense for us to kind of just wait and read the market. And hopefully try and get as close as we can to what we're quoted before all of this happened.
Great.
Yeah, of course.
What was the,
No, go ahead.
no. So what was the timeline for tranche one kind of construction, or just the first projects to ideally, which could be pushed back now until we know what the cash situation is, but when is when do we didn't have a project manager on, do we have kind of a guesstimate at this?
So for the summer, the hope was essentially to do our roofs, HVACs, and do the siding at potentially Fox and Sandpiper.
Summertime, okay.
Right. One, given the tariffs that appeared a week and a half ago, roofing is now a little bit on back order, for one, and two, the pricing is not super stable as of right now either. So there is already potential for some of those projects to have been pushed out already, just given what's happening. And also, it makes the most sense for us to replace the roofs and the HVACs together, especially if the HVACs are on the roofs, right? If the HVACs are on the sides of the buildings, then we can replace the roofs without affecting the HVACs at all. So long story short, to answer your question, Trustee Cost, it would realistically, the roofing projects, because we can kind of get them started quicker, as long as we issue it at some point within this fiscal year, we should still be able to do some of those. It just means that regardless of if we had issued last week or not, probably some of those, potentially some of the replacements that are more involved potentially at Fox, given that the siding is attached to the roof, they're kind of one unit together, those might have gotten pushed off anyways. So long story short, we are still trying to get off to as quick of a start as possible. So we are doing a bunch of the assessments now. For example, yesterday we went out to evaluate some of the roofs with Garland, one of the roofing companies, to just see what the state is in and to get a quote from them. So should we be able to get the money, we can kind of get those projects started.
So we're doing our due diligence so that we're ready to start when
Exactly.
funds are in place.
Exactly.
Otherwise they get IOUs.
But
I'll add to kind of layman's not used to being with all the financial terms and whatnot. We have a whole team working behind the scenes that are monitoring the markets, analyzing the markets, and then making recommendations to our other advisors who are doing the calculations on whether or not it makes sense for the district to move forward. So, for example, last week, Reese and I were on a 6 a.m. call with our advisors to determine what the markets were looking at that day and whether or not we were going to move forward. It was interesting because there was a slight hesitation on whether or not it was going to be a good day or not. And in the middle of the call, it became not a good day to move forward. The market shifted that much that quickly. So behind the scenes, they're actually monitoring that daily. For example, like the market's closed tomorrow, right? So there's no bond sales tomorrow, right? So they'll continue to monitor, and when it's a green light, we will go. Again, layman's, yes, there's a delay. Do I think it's an extensive delay? I don't think so. I think it's just the volatility, and once we start to see that volatility subside, then it'll be good. We got an update today where a little less than 0.5% off of where we wanted to be initially, and it's improving. But who knows what happens tomorrow? And we'll see. But it's just a kind of a waiting game. But we'll be ready to strike when it's appropriate.
All right, one last question. Are there any of our priorities in tranche 1 that were slated for the summer that would be in danger? Because over the summer, the students aren't there. Is there anything that would all of a sudden not be able to be completed during the school year if things so happen that we had to push everything over into the new school year?
Well, we wouldn't be able to start on any of the tranche 1 projects until we had the money, or at least felt good about the money coming in. So those would get pushed back. I would say very likely the really large scale roofing projects, those might have to be delayed a little bit more just because of the amount of dust that comes down when you're replacing roofing. However, I think some of the HVAC projects should be okay basically to start during the school year.
Like the field upgrades, those would.
So those field upgrades weren't slated to start this summer anyways. Those would come in the future as well. So really, again, for this summer, it was really just trying to get off as quick of a start as possible, which, given that we basically approved all this stuff to happen in January, it really only makes for, the smaller end of the projects. Things like the MUR upgrades, fields, et cetera, those would be next summer or later.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Of course. Yep.
With the tranche 1, did you say what's the dollar amount on that? Approximately
$57.5 million.
Thank you. Is there a possibility of issuing a smaller amount, $20 million, at like 5%, and then leaving the rest waiting for the better interest rate?
As all the other trustees said, excellent question. There is a chance for us actually to break it up into smaller increments. What that means though is that one, as you said, probably will pay a premium in terms of interest rate. Also, we will end up paying twice for the back-end services that Superintendent Guevara was talking about, right? So we have people in the back who are monitoring the market, who help us go to market, who price all of these out, all of the underwriters, et cetera. If we break it up into more and more series, basically we'll be incurring those costs multiple times. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, process-wise, you can keep going to your slides, and then questions, just let them out, and if you feel like waiting is the right answer, push us back.
Sounds good. The last thing I have before more question time is just giving
Playtime, more playtime.
It's just giving a quick spotlight on our district office modernization. So we have been hard at work with Driving Toronto's Architects, who is our architect for this project. And they have been working very closely, not only with Superintendent Guevara and myself, but also with our district office staff. They've come to two all hands meeting, all district office staff meetings to receive their feedback and then take take those and readjust the plans as everyone has said what they like and what they don't like. And I just wanted to basically share, what the rough sketches of that are currently. So as of right now, this is our upper floor, which we are currently on. Please notice the boardroom and all of the offices upstairs. And our bottom floor, which has currently all of our business services staff, as well as our technology staff. So stopping here, this is the proposed top floor of the district office.
Thank you.
I wish I could zoom in on this a little bit more. The main things to note are, one, we are moving to a slightly more open concept in the center of the upper floor. All of this is in the purpose of trying to get as many people as we can together on a single floor. We believe that will boost basically the connectivity between the different departments, and also already all of our departments have to work very closely together, and it's just a little bit tougher if people have to go up and down the stairs every time they need to talk to someone. For example, for Superintendent DeGuara to come and talk to me, he needs to walk down half of the building, go down the stairs, walk down the other half of the building to see me. In a layout like this, he would only have to walk potentially half the building to me. So
And get your steps.
I was gonna say. I'll be negotiating, my gym membership.
Some of the other highlights in here that you can't see from this layout is we would be changing the materials that are here within the district office layout itself. So instead of all of these thick, not concrete, but hardwood walls, these would be replaced with thicker glass, essentially soundproof glass. That would promote more light coming in from all different areas, and hopefully would make a much more welcoming environment as well. And again, the main purpose of all of these modernizations is because of the ADA complaints that we receive. So as you notice in the center, right above the stairs to the right, there is now an elevator. And that elevator is very important because it provides the ability for people to move between floors without having to use the stairs either inside or outside. Moving downstairs, the big thing to note is now that the boardroom is now down there as well. In order to maintain security of the top floor, you'll see some doors next to the stairs as well, and those doors also are upstairs as well. And the purpose of that is just to make sure that the public or private areas are people can't just mistakenly walk up there. And also some additional things we have are a few more conference rooms and a larger staff lounge in order for people to eat lunch together. Currently, our district office staff eat in the boardroom during most days. The other thing that is quite nice about this is we now have a attached conference room next to the boardroom itself, which will promote a little bit easier mobility for the trustees going back and forth between closed session and the boardroom itself.
Good idea.
The other thing that is nice is we'll have a nice big door leading to the boardroom itself, which will create no flow issues should more people need to attend a specific board.
It's Judy show or something. People's courts.
So what does this mean for us? So for next year, this district office will be under construction. Where will we be? Currently, we're in the process of closing a lease on 1075 Old County Road. This is across from the Wendy's, which is very good if you take the train and very bad if you like Frosties. I joked in like
I liked it.
I do like Frosties. It's only 8 minutes away from our current location. And we would be working with DTA architects basically to retrofit the space for our needs. Our goal here is that we want our employees to want to come back to the new space and not make the temporary office space so decked out per se that they want to stay there forever. So it will be a little bit of an inconvenience in some aspects. For one, this temporary office space is not big enough to host board meetings. So We're currently looking into separate options. Again, board meetings do need to take place within district bounds. So we're exploring different options such as the Sobrato Center, such as the County Office of Education to figure out what's going to work best.
Yes.
And I'll just add to it, it's likely that the county office will be able to support our need. One advantage of that is they have all of the electronics in play. So that'll make it easier on our team for setup, takedown, and all those pieces. It's convenient that the county office is in our district boundaries. So strong likelihood that that will be the location.
Cool. Great. And then a quick timeline. So we're going through the design process right now. We will move into the temporary housing likely in August or September, where construction should start in October or late September. And the hope is that we move back in by October 2026.
Maybe a whole year.
In just a couple of months.
Sorry, is the chart a little misleading?
No, a whole year.
I'm amazed.
It was a whole year and
Yes.
I'm just amazed at just in general, the whole year. It's a whole year project.
It is a whole year
Like
project.
basically going down to the beams and restarting again.
Exactly.
And that's pretty good for only a year, I feel like.
one of the things I think that I perceive to be a pretty significant piece of when you came in, you noticed all the markings. The driveway is actually up here is going to be on the other side where you pull in, park this way. You'll now be pulling in from this side, parking this way, and there will be some planter in front. We have about 8 feet past that wall, 10 feet past that wall. That's our property that we can utilize. So that's how they're accommodating for that huge slope coming in as some reconfiguration of the hardscape out there.
Cool.
And now open the floor to questions. Part 2.
Any more questions?
Looks great. Thank you for the update. Really excited about the district office renovations. Just a couple of clarifying questions for the proposed bottom floor and the boardroom. Is it still the idea that on our left, looking at the diagram, that there, I forget, I think it says patio doors. Would those patio doors on the left, would that be how people would enter, members of the public would enter for the board meeting, or is that not the idea?
There's also doors that go out into what is listed as the corridor.
Yes, yeah.
So potentially we can adjust it as we see fit. So we could have this open until the board meeting starts and then just have these slightly ajar should people come in mid-board meeting. We can do it however trustees fit or what makes the most sense. But it's nice to have options.
Oh, great. Thank you. And then just thinking of the logistics of it. So then for the conference room that's right next to the boardroom,
Yes.
that are there any windows, or is that a completely
No, there is
enclosed
this
room?
top edge of this is
Underground.
against basically dirt and rock.
Sure.
There are no windows down there. Yes.
Thank you.
We'll put one of those fancy TVs with the outdoor kind of.
Yeah.
Running water sounds. Maybe the kids could do that.
Maybe the kids, we can do some artistry.
Great, thank you. And then just to comment as well, really like it for the top floor of the entryway, and then visitors see the reception area immediately, and then having that elevator there as well for ADA accessibility.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Now, who it is again? Featuring same presenter, construction project manager approval. Item 14.
Thank you very much. Good evening again. So as mentioned earlier, we went out for RFP for a program/construction manager for the Measure P projects. Again, to give an overview of the process, we received 6 bids. Of those 6 bids, 4 went to an interview round. We were very lucky and fortunate to have Trustee Northrup with us again to help grade the interviews. Based on all of that, our recommendation is that we move forward with TeleQ Construction Management Services. On the board agenda, there is a document for or the sample document for the contract for this. However, we are still negotiating with TeleQ Construction Services on the specific personnel that we will need and their specific hourly rates. So this is just so you can see that the backbone of the contract, and we will be uploading the official contract with all the rates and proposed staffing into the May board agenda as well. So without further ado, I would like to extend my extreme gratitude for him sticking out most of this. But I'd like to bring up to the dais Mr. Blaine Yoder, who's a vice president at TeleQ Construction Management.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matsumoto. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dubara. Again, my name is Blaine Yoder, Vice President with TeleQ Construction Management. Reason I thought it would be a good opportunity, just since this is my first time in front of the board in a larger group, just to introduce ourselves, qualify a little bit about the firm, although staff and board member Northrup already went through a little bit of our presentation and process. So feel free, I welcome the questions, much like Reese does during the presentation. On the agenda, again, just talk a little bit about who we are as a firm, some projects that we feel are most relevant to Measure P, specifically Tranche 1, a couple key deliverables on the program side, which is independent of construction management services, and then talk a little bit about schedule and market conditions and things that are ever changing these days.
I think you'll just have to
just kind of scroll down there.
I will help you advance, basically.
Perfect. So I've been with TCM for 20 years. I oversee our program and construction management division all throughout California. Worked on bond programs, both large and small. The largest, Centinela Valley, about $609 million bond program, all the way starting down in Ravenswood, which started as a $23 million bond program. So kind of the whole breadth of K-12 work. I've dedicated my career to K-12 construction, started as a structural engineer, began over the last 20 years, really dedicated to program and construction management for educational facilities. I have 3 young elementary school kids, a 5th grader, 3rd grader, and a kindergartner. With the basic, so I think we're going to go back.
You misled me with the 3.
Guy treating like children. No, the next group is just, some of the key, core members from my team that you might, see. We've already had our director, Kelly Coltrip. He's been with us for 16 plus years at TCM, 30 years of experience as a director. Kelly oversees a lot of our staff on individual program and construction projects. So he's kind of the lead overseeing anybody who we would assign, to the district or on a particular project. Jesse Hildebrand is a qualified senior project manager. He's overseeing a couple of our projects in Palo Alto. And then as we really develop the schedule and the program gets rolling for Belmont, we'll shift over to supporting you directly on your program. And then Nolan Millord is just a project manager. Again, as we kind of define construction projects and the schedule, that's when project management and construction services come into play. You really need a finite project with the duration. We're really proponents of having boots on the ground for larger construction projects. Our approach to program management is much more flexible in terms of the staffing that we provide. We don't charge a fixed fee for that. It's really at an hourly rate for a given not to exceed cost. But again, those are some of the individuals that you'll start seeing over the next couple of weeks out here. And like I said, Kelly already walked all the projects with Nolan yesterday as a part of that roofing walk as well, doing an initial assessment of all those priority roofing projects. TCM, just real quick as a firm. So we celebrated our 30 years in business in February. We were formed in 1995. We are primarily a K-12 program and construction manager. We do all types of public works. We don't do any private work, but 95% of our business is just dedicated to K-12 construction. So we really feel that we are experts in educational facilities. We've completed a little over $4.25 billion worth of work during that time as program and construction manager and as a general contractor. We've worked, next slide, Reese, thank you so much. This is a partial client list. Work now in a little over 45 different K-12 or K-8 school districts all throughout California. This might be a little bit tough to read here. The one items highlighted in bold are clients that we've provided both program and construction management services. The regular font there, just discrete construction management projects. We really enjoy the opportunity to provide both of those. We feel like we can have the greatest impact on the success of a program by being involved in the planning up front and then overseeing the actual projects once they get rolling on the ground. And we do, have a distinction between both of those services. Real quick, a few just relevant projects. If you want to advance the next one there. Reese, especially for tranche one, I know you guys have, a mix of both, some modernization work, window replacement, roofing projects, a little bit of new construction for the playgrounds there. So we've performed all those types of services across varying different delivery methods. Ravenswood City School District, again, we started that in 2016. They're now on their third bond implementing all of that work, which is a combination of modernization, new construction. The first bond was a warm, safe, and dry program. So that literally was just replacing HVAC and re-roofing the projects to keep, weather-tight buildings and a roof over the student's head. So very similar actually to a little bit of the tranche one work as that is a part of that piece as well. As well as kitchen, NPR modernization projects, a lot of playground experience for some of those projects. Site security, that's a great HVAC replacement project there on the right, which was a large culinary arts facility. To the left is not quite as sexy with just a roofing and a conduit repair project. But again, very experienced, all the different types of projects, both large and small. Field drainage, I know we were talking about replacement there. This particular campus is a synthetic turf. I know that's still a discussion as to what type of field turf you actually replace for your projects. But again, that's a good opportunity to replace underground systems, the drainage on the site, and then look at turf replacement on some of your field projects, which we've done dozens of those now throughout California. Couple quick key program deliverables that we're starting right away. You guys are in a good spot. A lot of districts struggle on the prioritization piece. That's usually the biggest gap on implementing a bond program is just getting to that consensus of, okay, great, what do we do first? So it's great when we have a client that already has that project prioritization list identified. A part of what we will provide or recommend is just how you're partnering up some of those projects potentially. As Reese mentioned, oftentimes we don't want to, you can roof a project immediately, but we might not want to do that if we're replacing the HVAC units on the project, because then you're just going to tear into that roof, redo the warranty, update all the systems. So a part of our role is making sure we're pairing and then scheduling that recommended tranche one projects, moving forward methodically, but also fast enough that one, you can show the community all the great work that you're doing right away, but doing so strategically where we're not putting improvements in place just to rip them out a year or two later with another project that may not have been identified. Overall programmatic budget, so updating that as well. An overall programmatic schedule that'll be built out over the next 5 to 6 years, showing all those potential projects all the way to tranche 2 and tranche 3 as well. And then supporting the district on kind of engaging your entire team, which includes architects, geotechnical engineers, all the other professional services that are really needed to implement a successful bond program. Kind of high level, that's the programmatic items that we'll be coming back with. On the next slide, the construction management services is much more detailed, very specific to individual projects. Again, our construction professionals are certified construction managers, engineers, former architects, so very experienced on just managing the day-to-day operations of a DSA or a school project. And that starts all the way from pre-construction services, working with your architects and your staff on the design management of projects. The procurement, as you probably already know, of public works projects is very nuanced and specific. So overseeing that bidding process and recommending, how contracts actually get awarded and presented to the school board. And then, of course, overseeing the actual day-to-day construction on site, especially when we're in occupied campuses, to making sure we're minimizing any disruptions to staff and students, is really where we pride ourselves on the construction management side. So I just want to, thank you for your consideration and the opportunity. Wanted to just introduce ourselves. Hopefully look forward to, presenting on a regular basis as we get the program rolled out, and I'm free to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions? Couple of questions. Thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
You're very well dressed, and I thought you were just here for a public comment.
First impression.
In terms of, so I understand kind of like construction services part. Are you is it an equivalent to say like you're then be the general contractor, like for like a residential thing? Is it kind of the same or
no? So a general contractor, typically public contract code for anything, the way that you source a general contractor typically is lowest responsive bid. So they have to literally submit a sealed bid. Even for your district office, you're utilizing a different procurement, which is leaseback, which allows you to embed qualifications-based selection in your contractor. We are not your general contractor. We will never be a general contractor in a district that we provide program or construction management services. That's a direct conflict of interest, right? What we're really here for is owner's rep on the technical side, managing that process, kind of quarterbacking the process between your DSA inspector, your special inspection lab, the contractor and or contractors that you've had on the site, working, collaboratively with your architect and district staff on overseeing the implementation of the project. But we're not your builder.
So who gives the district the advice to say, okay, we need roofing done? Do we then do what we go out for bids and stuff, or do you give advice?
So that's a part of the process that we've already kind of started with Reese and his team. Is of those tranche 1 projects, here's what we feel like is a realistic schedule to implement those. Here's how we might recommend going about implementing the sequencing of those projects. So we would advise and provide that recommendation, and then of course manage the process of bringing those vendors and those contractors on board that are then presented directly to the district.
Got it. And do you find that the city permitting do you envision any obstacles? I'm thinking maybe like city permitting. So
Sure.
How do you work with that relationship with the cities, especially on a multi-year?
Yeah, so other than the district office for a second, all of your other projects are going to go to the Division of State Architect. So they actually, because they're school properties, unless we're doing off-site work, they don't go to the city. So the Division of State Architect is the one that is the governing agency for all school projects. So your architects will manage this process. They will actually have to submit to DSA. DSA will review and plan check that process. You will not be able to move forward with the project until DSA has literally permitted the plans for that. So we've done thousands of DSA projects. That's literally all we do. DSA is a bureaucracy. It takes time to go through that. I know you're commenting just on the schedule of things. DSA is definitely a process. So if we were to start now to design, a project, it's 4 or 5 months, or however long or how large a project is for the architect to design it. Then it goes into DSA. Depending on the complexity or the dollar value of that project, it will be in DSA from anywhere from 4 to 8 months, just going through the permitting.
Cool.
Yeah. It'll take 6. So if I wanted to submit a project to DSA now, you can't do that for 6 weeks. I have to register it now to submit it 6 weeks from now at the earliest. And then it goes through a very lengthy plan check process. Now, that said, we know exactly what we're getting out of DSA. So that's why we can build accurate schedules. Cities are a little bit different. it really depends on who you get, who your plan checker is. It's a little bit different on the variation of the scheduling and the process. So sometimes a DSA project will be faster than a city project. Really depends on who you get.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other questions? Good job.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Just for some of the earlier projects, roofing, HVAC, et cetera. I would imagine that we're pretty clear with you guys as our experts on what needs to be done. As we got into some things, say like the field modernizations in the future, could you walk us through like how you could potentially help us with community outreach?
Sure.
Things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of times on those forward-facing projects or projects specifically that are going to affect the community, because they also use it as parks, right? All of your facilities are, Belmont-Redwood Shores parks as well. So oftentimes we'll have a town hall just kind of informing the public of that process, what's coming up, kind of explaining at a higher level what goes into the construction of a project, kind of communicating the progress of that project as well. If there's any local vendors or local labor force, we support in advocating to those groups so that they can participate in the bid process and or work with or under those contractors that would be bidding that work. So we're absolutely there to support any of that, community engagement that's involved in that process, particularly on the front end of just kind of the education side of why do we have to go to DSA? Why does a project like this take the length of time that it does? I think it's great for all the students to kind of see photos of, all the underground work that goes into a storm drain project. It's a great educational piece sometimes for them. So, taking, daily photos, providing a report that district staff can share with the community and students on just the progress is absolutely something we'd be happy to support on as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, we want to avoid taking pictures from inside the drainage hole.
That's right.
Yeah.
Inside joke. All right.
Well, we could get the kids the hard hat, the yellow part. Get them excited.
Other question? I got a few questions. What does the name stand for?
Great question. So TELUCU is an acronym, so it actually stands for the East Los Angeles Community Union. We're a bit unique where TELUCU is a nonprofit organization that was founded in the late 60s in East Los Angeles. It's the largest community development corporation in the nation. But really the model was to own a number of subsidiary companies that contributed to the local community that we worked in. A portion of our profits roll back up into our nonprofit activities as a part of that organization. But that's what our parent company, TELUCU, stands for, is that acronym. A lot of the nonprofit activities that we fund is affordable housing. We put a number of student through scholarships through our Upward Bound program on college scholarships, as well as a part of our parent organization. So it's kind of unique. Yeah, we're, operate as any other construction manager, but, TELUCU also has an affordable bank, restaurant, Tamayo's Restaurant in East Los Angeles, which is a very famous painter. Its own a residential company, a weatherization group, and again, all of that kind of feeds back into our nonprofit activities.
Thank you.
Famous painter be willing to paint our mural in the boardroom?
Not around anymore, but Tamayo passed away a number of years ago. I'm sure we can find someone.
This question, I guess, for you, like in your experience. So I'm asking you in your position, but also as a person, like what hiccups or pitfalls have you seen in from where we are going forward to the next 10 years?
Yeah.
What mistakes have you seen made that we should?
Yeah, I mean, if quite honestly, if construction was perfect, I wouldn't have a profession, right? A part of that is really just managing kind of all the different challenges and unforeseen conditions and different personalities that are required, especially on a large scale, bond program. I think, but that's stuff we do day in and day out, right? Dealing with the technical side of things, supporting our architects to make sure their designs are correct so the contractor can bid them, managing those contractors on schedule. I think the most recent challenges that obviously we're experiencing on the ability to issue the bond is also going to impact the cost of construction. So the immediate jump just from November to January was a huge escalation. So I think just knowing that we have to almost immediately update those budgets to plan for that is a new challenge. We just went through the very similar challenge 4 years ago with the pandemic. Same thing happened, right? You started to experience escalation at 1% a month. So you had to accelerate your projects, look at ways to source materials early so that you can lock in the pricing. So for an example, on your roofing projects, we would ultimately recommend an alternative procurement where you can buy the roofing directly from the manufacturer. So you're not having the contractor put their markup on it and then offset escalation. So that's one way to get around some of those things. But other than the day-to-day stuff that we deal with always, that's the newest one that we're managing up against scheduling and cost.
Okay, thank you. And perhaps same question, but you gave us props for like having our prioritization done. And so as you're making a bid for it and you look at it and kind of similar to like where you might see problems, like when you looked at it, did you agree with it? Where you're like, oh, I would do this the other way. Or like, was there anything anything?
No, not
red flag, but anything you saw that?
No, it makes a lot of sense. Oftentimes HVAC and roofing is definitely a front-end priority on a bond project, right? You want to replace the roofs, invest in safety and air ventilation to immediately, protect the students. And then ultimately, if you modernize those classrooms or put upgrades, you have a non-leaky roof, on top of that. So that's always, a good approach. Having a couple front-facing, community-facing projects in there as well, right? I mean, HVAC and roofing is great and it's important. No one sees it, right?
Yeah.
You guys have a combination of also some, facade replacements, painting, site security. So yeah, I think everything in there is great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the item for action. Sorry, were you done?
Yes, I am not.
Okay, can we get a motion to approve moving forward with Teleq construction management for program management for Measure P project?
So moved.
I offer you the second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There are no nays. Right. So approved.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 15. All right, have a good one. 2x2 debrief. with, Superintendent DeCarlo.
Yeah, so let's see, we met with, we had a 2x2 two trustees with two council members of Belmont and two council members of Redwood City scheduled for March 18th. We had a partial 2x2 that ended up being a 2x2 with the city of Belmont. A strong turnout from the city of Belmont. Chief was there. Council members were there. A whole host of Parks and Rec were there. A whole host of folks met with trustee or President Bruno and trustee Koss. I will add that the second half or the third, I don't know, half, whatever, took place today informally. We did not have a formal meeting with Redwood City side, but we did meet with Council Member G today. Jeff G joined David, Jackie, and I for an informal conversation around some of the same topics. And I'll turn it over to you guys to share your summary of thoughts. As a refresher, we focused on bond updates for both cities. We took some time with Belmont to listen about their renovations that are happening at the library and their shift of utilizing, I think, some of Carlmont and the Barrett Community Center to host their programs. Today on our call with Councilmember G, we talked a lot about fields. high water tables, and kind of just community aesthetics, I would say, in terms of landscaping and whatnot, out at Redwood Shores and Sandpiper.
Dan's passing it off, but covered most of it. The 2x2 with Belmont was just honestly kind of on a basic level proof of good partnership. So lots of different entities talking together. We talked about fields, we talked about kind of like decision making. We talked about library closure and what it looks like to kind of not necessarily partner up, but to prepare for what that looks like as a community, as not having it, and what it might feel like specifically at that's what it's called there, the Ralston, whatever. The
Belmont Strip. the
Belmont
shopping
Shopping Center. Yeah, that was good. I think that one happened before our last board meeting. Anyway, that one was good. Meeting with Councilmember G today was again, I said informal, but also super informative. Actually, as a human, very informative meeting. We talked a lot about fields, geese. In general, honestly, I thought some phenomenal conversation and advice around just kind of like future planning and preparation.
Correct.
Of like what, this board's work might look like in 10 and 20 years, let alone 10 and 20 months. So just all of his experiences and the direction we're going, that was a solid starter for a good relationship. And we talked about building a, I think stronger is the right word, connection with Redwood City Police as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was summarized really well. My impression was kind of the same with the city of Belmont. Again, appreciate all the players being there. It's hard to coordinate. I think it was more of a debrief than a kind of like a back and forth discussion. Which is helpful because again, it's kind of interesting to know about the pain points, especially with the library and how many students I've seen personally, how many students like utilize that space and when that space is closed down, where are they going, especially if our community center is kind of tapped out. It seemed like somebody who's coming from and it was really great to get the police perspective, and I guess they're bringing on somebody to kind of help manage that relationship between the stores at Carmont Shopping Center and the students, and a couple of the council members recognize that person and they're very happy with that person. He's very out-facing. I think today's conversation was great. Jeff has a wealth of information. He kind of wears a lot of different hats and roles. I think he was former mayor, right, in that position. So that was just kind of great. Some of my questions were around when we talked about demographics. Did he foresee any housing or temporary, like Redwood Shores build outs? There's been talk in the paper of life sciences and this and that. And did he envision any of that being more than just a blip to kind of maybe impact our thinking going forward? And he was just kind of talking about, unfortunately, with developers, their timeline and everything, it's kind of been stretched out a little bit. And some of the obstacles there, nothing really yet that would impact our already known enrollment demographics information. And then again, just some personal things about how they control their geese population and creating obstacles. And, it was just really, again, a nice touch point, but it was pretty informative and it was a good kind of more a discussion. But again, we were a smaller group, so it kind of lends itself to that a little bit more readily. But yeah, I mean, it just appreciate everybody's time, and it takes a little bit of hopefully that we can get back to the 2x2x2 and kind of create that ongoing quarterly or something discussion point. So we kudos to Kirsten and her for trying to manage that process. It's not an easy process with everybody's competing schedules for sure. But I enjoyed it. And so I would welcome another opportunity to meet up again.
One of the things I'll just share is one of the things I appreciate, and I think one of the biggest goals of the 2x2x2 is a synergy around what's happening in multiple cities across multiple jurisdictions. But those connections that we have one-on-one with folks so that Belmont Police Chief knows that he can call me anytime, and I know that I can reach out and call him anytime. And that goes for all the different departments out there. That personal connection really does go a long way when we need it.
Yeah.
Is this open up for questions?
Absolutely.
Oh, great. Did you guys discuss the field maintenance with Belmont? And like, are they gonna come on a schedule and do the fields now or?
We did.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, one of the ask was, they said they had like a kind of a schedule of maintenance that they were going to share with you. And I think definitely heard that we wanted either more consistency and clarity on that.
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable with the response that you've received?
Yeah, they called out a number of factors, like when it's rainy and stuff, it's hard to mow. And sometimes, the schedules don't allow for those type of things. But I think there was a conversation specific to make sure that we're renewing and we're talking about our fields. I did specifically throw out a little feather or an invitation to collaborate with us as we utilize our bond funds to renovate our play fields and grow, especially when we look at that partnership between water usage and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. There's an opportunity to renew that.
But I would emphasize that Dan politely said, with the collaboration, with the, like to kind of maybe monetarily also go in, and it was kind of crickets back, but I would though honestly say that it's rightly so. It's in our purview to have the conversations at the appropriate time, what that field composition is going to be. What are the factors that we need to consider? But it is our decision making as to what direction we go into. They didn't really have any kind of guidance. They were kind of taking a more neutral, well, decide, look at the pros and cons. So that's why I think you brought up the question. It's going to be good to get some advice and counsel from people like the construction manager who has had projects, both synthetic turf and natural. Do we stay with natural, and what are the pros and cons of that? So it was good though. I mean, that's rightly so, right? That's our prior.
And I'll even be a little bit more straight, I guess. I think there's a recognition that our resources, whether they're district resources or they're city resources, are limited. And folks really are doing the best that they're able given the circumstances that come into play. We actually, for the board's information, a former CBO Lau and I actually did a cost analysis of water usage and reimbursement from utilization fees and mower maintenance and staffing and whatnot, thinking that if it was significantly in our best interest to reclaim that and look differently at that MOU, then that might be something we should consider. After doing a preliminary analysis, we do recognize that the partnership that we have with Belmont is supportive of our work and of our community and keeping those fields the way in the conditions that they are now. Not sure that we could do that alone, honestly. But certainly, when we go to look at redoing the fields, that's something we need to look at. We need to look at, is whatever method we choose gonna kick back significant savings where it might be in our best interest.
So that was gonna be my next question. Oh, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna ask, so when we do redo the fields, our relationship with the city and their piece of it changes, or we have the opportunity to renegotiate?
There's always opportunity to renegotiate. It is a long-term MOU, but there's opportunity within to to step out and whatnot, on both sides. I mean, when we look at our maintenance staff, generally speaking, our district office team that extends to our maintenance and operation teams are very lean. Yes, we take care of Redwood Shores, that landscaping and whatnot. But that's even a lot in and of itself, right? A small team of guys that really do a ton. So, if we start scaling, we have to really think about the implications.
Any other questions? Back up. I'll just sign up for discussion. Move to item 16, CSDA board policy update.
Great. Our quarterly update, CSBA board policy. There's quite a lengthy update this month. I'll just remind the board that staff each go around takes time to look at policies that are primarily impacting their specific departments. They are looking pretty much actually solely on CSBA recommendations that are tied largely to education code and finding the just right fit for the district in terms of options. Generally speaking, staff is not making a significant change or policy consideration on their own. It's simply CSBA updates. Couple times where that happens where we do more of a policy update. Two examples would be when we're talking about enrollment process. Embedded within that would be a timeline. That's when Director Eastburn would take time to make sure that the board policy fits our process. Another example would be when we adopted the equity policy and equity statement. Of significant board work went into that policy development. So that was a little bit different, but all the policies on here are really selecting options and ensuring that Ed Code is up to date. It is a first read for tonight, which means we have between now and the next board meeting, which I believe is May 15th, to hear input not only from trustees, but from community. We'll take that input, make any adjustments we need, and it will be up for a second read under consent. If there's any significant changes or need for discussion, we pull that from consent for discussion of the board, and then we move accordingly. So tonight, it's there for first read.
And for discussion, any desired discussions? Okay, you have access to these for your perusing pleasure. Item 17. Future board meeting agenda items.
Yes, so I am looking forward to meeting with the board again next week, April 24th, a week from today. We will have our board retreat in the Ralston Library. SMCOE was booked, so we are in the Ralston Library. Closer for some, further than for others. Sorry about that. Focus on our board agenda is board governance. I'm really looking forward to that, spending some time talking about how we work together as a governing board. Part of that will be a board self-evaluation. We'll do some survey work. We'll talk about our results. The second piece that we'll talk about is enrollment, looking at our projections and talking about long-term enrollment within the district. At the next meeting on the 15th, big regular agenda items, we really start heading into LCAP and budgeting season. So you'll have the public hearing on the budget and the LCAP. This is probably Assistant Superintendent Hu and CBO Matsumoto's busiest time, but they'll be bringing you drafts for public hearing in each of those areas. Redwood Shores will be our school highlight. And as we mentioned, we'll be bringing back the TeleQ formal agreement at this meeting as well.
Sorry, not about this slide, but when we did our our call to like review the meeting stuff, like I feel like we talked a lot about a topic that hasn't been brought up here. School lunches. We supposed to,
Yeah, sure.
okay, sorry, I just.
No, so I actually was gonna mention during my superintendent update, but it is actually relevant to the next meeting, so I will address it. We anticipate, I'm looking at CBO Matsumoto, do you think that'll be next month?
It would actually be, it would go past the board in June.
In June. So we will be going out for an RFP for school lunches. We have enjoyed our relationship with Chefables. That said, we have noticed some freshness issues, and we've heard some feedback from our students, from our community, that perhaps we might want to consider revisiting. That said, I want to be fully transparent that there are very few vendors in this space that are able to meet the parameters that we've established. Those parameters being cost neutral, in alignment with the National School Lunch Program, and able to serve the number of students that we serve on a daily basis. So realistically, there's probably 3 vendors in the space, maybe 4. We anticipate likely 2 vendors will respond to our RFP, likely 2. And we will go through taste testing and doing all that good stuff. At the end of the day, we might decide that we need to maintain course, or we may decide that we need to course correct. But the experts in the field that kind of consult in this area say that things ebb and flow. That one entity will have a great few years. So everybody starts to transition to that great, amazing product. And then when you're past scale, it's sometimes hard to maintain, right? So, and you know, they're the up and the down piece. Again, full transparency. We have colleagues in other districts that we are talking with that have very similar concerns around their vendors that are not Chefables. So we'll see. We feel that it's prudent for us to revisit, always making sure that we are making the best decision given our parameters for our students and for our community.
Can I ask another question? When you say like there's a parameter to keep the program cost neutral, who makes the decision if that needs to be changed at some point?
That would be the Board of Trustees. If the Board of Trustees determines that they want to change direction with that piece, we are able to do that. The background has always been we want to ensure that our people and programs are not impacted by the costs of our nutritional program, right? So roughly speaking, and we'll prepare this, but we're serving roughly 1,300 lunches a day across the district. I think we're serving a bit more than that in breakfast. You make a slight adjustment, $0.25, $1, and those costs get into the millions really quick. So, you know, certainly if that's the board wants to look at that, we can absolutely look at that. But right now we're looking at a cost neutral program.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it would be possible to, in a future board meeting, look at our reading programs across the district. I just really am interested in how we are teaching reading and how we are addressing that as a whole.
We can absolutely talk about that. I can work with President Bruno to see if we can agendize that for a future meeting or an update.
And I second trustee Tang's request. I think that would be a really great idea. I think there's a lot that's been in the news about the science of reading and seeing, what we can do to get aligned with that.
Yeah, I will share the state adoption is a couple years out. Typically, there's dollars that go with the state adoption. So that is a piece. We're just anecdotally noticing that we'll see things on the state website one day and they disappear the next day. This is the superintendent who saw dates for the next framework revision and materials call that were adjusted or being adjusted. So there's some elements of to be determined from the state perspective there.
Do we need to wait state? And I'm only saying that because I had some conversations with with a couple of younger grade teachers. And they all say they are very ready to change the current curriculum. And just being able to see what's happening right now and what other options are available. Do we need to wait for the state order to do that?
No, districts can move at their own pace. They can look at materials. That was something that was when we were doing our strategic plan, that was something that we actually prioritized within our strategic plan for staff to be looking at. Our next adoption, and the state is actually moving forward, is with math. They'll move forward with language arts after that. Just anecdotally, we balance what we keep on our plate and what's coming down the pipe and what our teachers are able to adjust when. My big piece, yes, there's been a lot with the science of reading. We've done a lot to address the identified gaps within the workshop model, i.e. a phonics piece, i.e. supplementary materials, those kinds of pieces. We know we're due for an adoption. The one thing that comes to mind is when the state's redoing the framework, when they're setting all of the goals for the new instructional requirements, that's when publishers are doing the updates. So we do need to be cognizant of are we going to adopt something that's going to be updated and obsolete in 2 years' time? I don't know the answer to that. So we'll do some work with Trustee Bruno and I'll work together with Assistant Superintendent who to prioritize some time to discuss.
On that note, we are reconvening to close. Closing this open session at 8.
Just note that we will not have a report out of closed. So we can.
You're in the back. All right. Those are speaking at 8:31. All right.